Okay. Hey, everybody. I'm Rebecca Lehmann. I'm so excited to be reading for you this evening. I know this series is called Poets in Pajamas, and I really intended to wear my pajamas to this when I signed on to it before the coronavirus. But now that I've been in my house for 4 months with two small kids, it felt really important to put on a nice shirt and dress up a little. So maybe you're all in your pajamas. I hope so, relaxing. I am really excited to read some new poems tonight. I was originally intending to read from my second book, Ringer. There it is. You can get it on the University of Pittsburgh Press website. It came out in fall. But I thought that I'd read some newer poems that are maybe a little bit more relevant to the moment that we're in right now, that I wrote this summer. Some of the poems that are in Ringer touch on similar subjects, but these poems kind of go in a different direction. Before I launch into that, I really want to thank Poets in Pajamas series and Sundress Publications for having me, and also my husband, Josh, who is putting both of our preschool-age children to bed single-handedly right now so that I can do this. Thank you, Josh. You are the best. So I want to start by introducing the poems that I'm going to read. I'm going to read from A Sonnet Crown. I know that a lot of you are probably poets watching this, so you might already know what a sonnet crown is, but I also think there are a lot of non-poets watching this, so I'll just briefly explain what a sonnet crown is. A sonnet is a 14-line poem, and a sonnet crown is 14 sonnets put together so that the last line of the first sonnet becomes the first line of the second sonnet, the last line of the second sonnet becomes the first line of the third, and so on and so forth. And then when you get to the 14th sonnet, the last line of the last sonnet is the first line of the series. So as I'm reading these, I'm not going to really pause for very long in between each one. I'm just going to read all 14 in a row. But you'll notice some lines repeating, and then you'll notice that the series ends with the same line that it begins with. I wrote these last month when I was up in Wisconsin visiting family. I was really lucky. I felt really lucky to be able to very quickly go visit my family during a time that felt relatively safe in this pandemic. But a lot of the anxiety of traveling during a time of illness and trying to experience my home but not feeling like I can completely do all the things that I wanted to do seep into this. I grew up in northern Wisconsin in a place that is full of forests right on Lake Michigan, and so a lot of that setting comes through here. I also wrote these when I was staying at my aunt's cottage, and so thank you, Aunt Polly, for letting me stay there, but some of that like woodsy imagery is going to come into this series. These poems open with a quote by John Donne, who I was thinking of when I wrote these poems. John Donne wrote a series. He was a 17th century metaphysical poet, and he wrote a series called the Holy Sonnets that are sort of these strange religious sonnets, but also kind of erotic and kind of excessively grotesque in places, which is something that I was really drawn to and that I think kind of comes through in some of these poems as well. So the poems open with a quote from Holy Sonnet number 7, which is a sonnet that imagines the rapture happening in kind of graphic detail, and then the sonnet ends with John Donne saying, no, don't do the rapture yet. I'm way too big of a sinner. Please don't take me, because I wouldn't go to heaven. I'd go to hell if the rapture happened right now. So there's some references to some of those types of images going on throughout these poems. Okay, so I think I'm just going to dive in here. And then at the end, I'm going to talk for a few minutes. If you have questions, you can post them in the chat. But I'll talk for a few minutes because I've been told that there's a little bit of a delay in the chat feature. Okay, calamity, catastrophe, apostrophe, goodbye. At the earth's imagined corners, blow your trumpets, angels, and arise, arise from death, you numberless infinities of souls, and to your sacred bodies go. And that's from John Donne's Holy Sonnet 7. I want to slip a ring off each your fingers, one by one. No slender tusk to place it on, no luxury, no gold, no chintz, only strings of gasps. Your fingers on your face, in fear, a mask to hide. Your eyes, blank galaxies comprised of dust. radioactive, radio silence. Flat molecules, a halo I look through to see a wave, awake, the rings rattling around a drain. Your name. I spoke it to the sky once. Rainbows clustered there like hair, like gulls, like clods, like sap. A slap to ring the day, to say the sonic boom, to say the night, to say all light will die, to straddle an ancient river. Say all light will die. An ancient river washes the feet of corpses. They blink, turn tight against the bank, their grave. We cry. We throw old pennies at their hearts, their eyes. Their sighs are monumental in the dusk, a tusk, a tisk to thrust into the night. Like frightful boats, the rocks we grab and throw to capsize them, and on the bottoms what? Don't look. The faces of the dead are gathered there, like masks of rocks, like sand, rough as contagion, strung through with seaweed, algae, the brown-green boom that throttles and suffocates. And where are you? Delinquent, erased, forgotten, never happened, stop. To erase, to forget, never happened, stop thinking about the clay you pulled him from, the fresh waves, the luster of sunlight on water. My children slipping like dead horses on the rocks, and before that, just blank, no faces. I want a way to sing, a bloated fiction. I scan the horizons for you, holy green, you, obscene, corpulent, yearning, lost. A thunderhead across the water, big and stumbling, drunk with rain, with hours. Go rehearse your powers, shift away from sunlight, lose the lace, the chase, the pretty flock of owls that rim the rafters in the barn. You left behind a red bruise. You left behind a red bruise in the sky, the line of birds trailing over the bay, one pelican, a swarm of gnats. If I say you slapped my face before you left, shook my collar, over-buttoned my rain jacket, I leaked time, I leaked irises, I leaked just a little blood, I leaked the water's chop, all the fathoms, the dulled pearls of your eyes. In disguise, I was not a countess, I was not a great lake, I was not the bed of ferns, nor the rocking, not the rocking, never the rocking. Not the rocking, never the rocking. Not I told you so, I did. Not the pain behind my ear, the swollen lump from the mask's strap, the strap of sky that traces evening, the rain belting the windows, weary of negation and yet not. There, the speedboat at dusk, the shiver on water, not the daffy water tower or the overeager dog, and not the dead dog that chases me through dreams. I wanted to slip a ring off each your fingers, a ring off the mallard's neck, some rocks from a bucket I left in the dark. Some rocks from a bucket I left in the dark, a dead dog's skull I kicked in a ditch. In a ditch the irises bloomed between cattails. Some rocks I put on the dead dog's eyes. I didn't. Go away from there. Both my children I held by the hands and led down the road, masks slipping from our faces like rings from fingers. If I have to break a knuckle to get it off, the yodel of pain. There's a way to prosper, a bone, a bane, a star smashed into the sky, a star eating another star. I want to put my finger in the star hole. I want the profane. The holy is masked. The holy stinks of incense, pulls its own hair out to make a penance. Pull your own hair to make a penance. The holy is waiting, tugs our ears, kisses each little toe. A sequel, a man leaning out of a van to offer my children candy. My littles, my children, who climb wooden stairs to reach a platform in a deserted park, to scan the bay, perform bucked measurements, to spy another state, to count the fathoms on the map. We are here. We are there. The holy wants to slip a ring off each your fingers, hold it in its mouth, turn it around and around like a sun on the horizon rolling into place. Like the horizon rolling into places it shouldn't go, like two cedars straggling the escarpment, their flat needles, open receptors, movable panels to catch and catch the light. Heliotropic, the leaves follow from east to west, as we have, as us, and us again in an old car. There is a wild orchid. Not there. Where? There. I splashed water in the boat to make you cry once, but now I'm the water breaking. I'm the waves that lap the shore. I'm the old wooden staircase you hurry down, afraid. I'm the mask. You hurry down, afraid. I'm the mask. Case numbers are up. My father, a symbol. The holy is wriggling in his hands. I want to slip a ring off each your fingers. I want to roll the water into waves that catch and catch. The sun rings the horizon. My children in bed, hands like masks across their faces. My father, a symbol. Before he digs his own grave and hops in it, he laughs. I leaked a little human emotion. I leaked the holy. I got in a kayak and paddled from shore. The shore, a mask, a bird's beak to crack dawn's face. A mask, a bird's beak to crack dawn's face. I said a beak, to break, to cut and puncture, punch and prosper, and all the birds, whatever, their silly caws like fire, like whimpers, like masks to muffle, to cover a man's face, a bird's beak, an angry hammer. Poplar or birch, pelican or gull, stop. I slipped on mossed rock searching for you, held my hand against the holy, all rings, all orchids, all ferns. I wanted to find you, to crack your face, an angry hammer, a whimper, a silly caw. I punch and leave behind again a crown of leaves, profane, splinters in your hand. A crown of leaves, profane, splinters in your hand. Like a soprano's warbling voice, like high E. Like we climbed the fire tower, the wooden stairs I dragged my children up, the mask of mourning lifting, masks sliding down their noses. Dangerous cliff area, read the sign. The dead fell through the platform's cracks into the bay, the lap of waves I waved goodbye to in rings around the peninsula, in rings of iconic and thunderous music. There's the driftwood I want to bash the day with, the shake, the shiver, the sun's wet cough. The shake, the shiver, the sun's wet cough. I wanted a way to prosper, but lost. The shake, the shiver, the sun's wet mask of clouds. Out loud, I walked at last through the woods. I wanted to slip a ring off each tree, a ring off the lip of each woodpecker's talon, a ring of daisies from the field, to sing a mask of dirges. Turn to the creek bed, to the loamy marsh, turn to lead, turn to a steroid, the marsh a mask to last, a bacterially saturated flask, each footstep a vaccine, an injection, a holy pockmark, a viral inflection. A holy pockmark, a viral inflection to the administrator's voice over Zoom. Each meeting beginning, let us pray. I want to slip a ring off each her fingers. I want a holy calling, a conviction, grace, John Donne's ghost to trace his finger up my spine, to sigh and moan of holy trumpets, holy corners. Let them sleep, Lord, and me mourn a space. I want a compass's fine needle to point me north to the holy holy. Let them sleep, Lord. The administrator's voice crackles, cuts out. She freezes in form. I row a little boat into the wind. I row a little boat into the wind. Come find me there. You will. The wind masks a ring I wear, a ring you wear, my song, my other, my sleepy space. An ancient river masks another river, masks time, masks gulls, masks the channel I row through, masks your eyes. Your eyes are nothing. Metaphor is useless. My hand is cut. My tooth a sore ring. My story an ancient mask. Now you, slender lover, your beakishness, your dead-eyed, dead dog gaze, your lazy, thoughtless days. I want to slip a ring off each your fingers. Okay, so that's the end of the poems. It's good to see you too, Rosanna. Hi. So I'm going to talk for a couple minutes, and if anybody has questions, you are welcome to post them. I've been told there's a little bit of a delay in the chat function, so I'm going to just kind of ramble for a few minutes and see if anything shows up there. So those were all the poems. I was trying to think in advance of something to talk about because sometimes it's hard to think on the spot. So I was thinking about how in a couple places in that sonnet crown, I referenced kayaking, which I hadn't done since I was probably a teenager, and then got to do a couple times this summer, once on Green Bay and once on a smaller little bay off of Green Bay. And I had a really nice time both times. The second time I went out kayaking with my dad and my husband and my son, and we went under there's an old steel drawbridge in the town that I grew up in, and my dad, who I think is watching this, is constantly griping about how frequently it goes up. So I really got to witness that in firsthand, going under the bridge, how often it was opening to let the big yachts of tourists go through. So there you go, Dad. I know you probably wanted your gripes aired on the internet, which is the most effective place to take any problem. I'm sure it will be handled immediately and diplomatically and with no blowback now that I've announced that the bridge in Sturgeon Bay opens too often here. Let's see. I don't see any questions posting, so I'm just going to kind of ramble a little bit more. I was very busy pulling weeds in my garden this morning, and the thing about weeding is you weed and then more weeds show up, which is kind of like writing poetry, right? Like you write and you think you're done, and then more words come, and it just seems to be like a never-ending thing. I'm kind of out of things to ramble about at this point. Let me see, what else could I talk about? Oh, so I did quote right from the John Donne poem in the second to last sonnet that I read. So the lines, "Let them sleep, Lord, and me more in a space," are from Donne's Holy Sonnet 7. And that's where he's kind of talking right to God. In this sonnet crown that I read, I envisioned the you as being, I don't know about God, but some kind of like divine spirit, or looking for a divine spirit in some way or another. So the you kind of like morphs around a little in these poems, but the you that I had in mind was like looking for some type of, I don't know, some type of higher being that might be able to give some answers in this really unusual and stressful and chaotic time right now. So I don't see any questions, and I think that I will probably wrap up here in another minute or two. I'm just going to text with the Poets and Pajamas people and see what they think. We'll wait and see if word comes from beyond. This is one of those times like when you're in a meeting and you say, "What do you think of this idea?" and no one says anything, and you say, "Hearing nothing, I assume everyone is hearing nothing, I assume your agreement." Oh, look, the Poets and Pajamas people texted me a question. Thank you, Poets and Pajamas people. Yeah, so I love sonnets. My first book, Between the Crackups, had, I think, 10 different sonnets in it. When I write sonnets, they're pretty loose. I'm not using rhyme. They're 14 lines long. There might be some internal rhyme going on, but I'm not writing like a traditional Petrarchan or Shakespearean sonnet. I love to teach the sonnet, and I do every time. Oh, I see. Questions aren't showing up for me for some reason. Okay, cool. I love to teach the sonnet, and I do it every time I teach poetry workshop. I know that I have at least one former student here who probably had to read a lot of sonnets when she was in my class. I think it's such a cool form because it's 14 lines long, but it packs so much punch, and the turn is such a big part of the sonnet. When I was in college, I took a class on, it was like the British literature before 1800 kind of survey course. And I had this great professor, and I took the class for honors, and I got to work closely with her. I believe her name was Heather Dubrow. And I wrote my long paper at the end of the semester on Mary Roth, who was, I believe, an Elizabethan poet, although my memory is kind of escaping me on it now. But she wrote this crown of sonnets about love being like a labyrinth. And I was so into the crown of sonnets. Like I remember just laying them out on my bedroom floor and reading them again and again, and like trying to, almost like I thought I was in one of those movies where someone gets very paranoid and they use the red yarn to connect ideas. Like I was looking through the sonnets trying to find some extra secret poem in the repeating lines, which sometimes people do when they're writing crowns. You can, in some crowns of sonnets, you can pull out the 14 repeating lines and make another sonnet out of those lines. The Mary Roth crown doesn't do that, although I really tried to make it do that as I was reading through it. And a fun project might be to like take that and do some kind of erasure on it to make it into a poem within the sonnet crown. But I like it because it's like simultaneously separate poems, a crown of sonnets, and poems that link together. And I think that when I wrote these poems, I was supposed to be having like a romantic getaway with my husband. As I said, my aunt has a little cottage up in Door County in Wisconsin. And we were staying there for 2 nights. And it was the first time we had been away from our children in 3 months because of the quarantine and preschool for my son closing. My husband works from home and takes care of our younger child, our daughter anyway. But we'd all been home and we hadn't had any breaks from them for 3 months. And I hadn't been able to write because I was working from home and taking care of children. And I just had so many poems in me that I wrote one sonnet and then I wrote another. And then I just kind of went on a tear and sort of manically wrote all 14 sonnets in about 48 hours, while also taking some time to try to enjoy myself. But it got, I just couldn't. It was like once I was able to be in a space where I didn't have small people who I love, but constantly asking me for things or crying or wanting to play or all the things that kids do that they should do. But it's very hard for me, at least, to write while also really actively parenting. So once I was in that setting, I was able to relax enough and then write this crown of sonnets. Okay, the next question I have is, what advice do you have for writers setting out to write a crown? I don't know. I think just get ready to run a marathon and take it in bites. I think that if you write, if you have had a lot of coffee or some other stimulant, you might be able to write all 14 in one go. But for me, it was helpful to chunk it out. So I wrote about 2 or 3 at a crack and then would take a break. I also have been a really big believer, because I'm very busy, as many writers who are parents are, and I'm constantly being pulled in lots of directions. I've become a big believer in writing on my phone. So I was composing on my computer, but then I would take, like when I was done with one sonnet, I would take the last line and put it into the notes section on my phone, so that if I was somewhere else and then something came to me, I could continue writing it. I think with a longer series, that can be really helpful as you sit down to do it. And I think just like to have fun with it is a good piece of advice as well. For some people, fun might be following a very strict metrical and rhyme pattern and writing like a very, strict crown of Petrarchan sonnets, for example. For me, that's not what I was looking to do in this project. Instead, I just kind of let the form loosen up a little bit and use rhyme in a more playful way here and there, but tried not to make it overbearing. Okay, let's see. What else do you enjoy by John Donne? Oh, so I referenced the one, he has a poem that's like really kind of dirty about missing his wife when he was in France as an ambassador. I can't remember the title of it, but it has like stiff twin compasses pointing north as a line in it or something that's like a really heavy double entendre. And that's a poem of John Donne's that I really get a kick out of. I think John Donne had something insane like 13 children too, or I should say John Donne's wife had 13 children, which is like way too many children. That's so many children. So clearly they were they were very erotic, like the poems that he wrote. But one would assume, I guess, with 13 children. So I think that might be the end of the questions. For some reason, I'm not seeing them on my end, but I am getting the text from. Oh wait. Oh, I just wasn't scrolling down. That's my problem. You have to be smarter than the technology. Oh, thanks, Holly. I like the hair clip too. This was my great grandmother's hair clip. Okay. Thank you for sharing a new poem. Genevieve had a question. Okay. I think I might have gotten all the questions. Oh, and do you write a lot of sonnet crowns? No, this is the only sonnet crown. Gosh, I think I wrote a really bad one when I was like 22, but this is the only one that I've written as what I would consider like an adult poet. Oh, someone posted something about red snapper. Maybe they think they're in a different place. Okay, so I think I'm gonna probably sign off. Thank you all so much for coming and listening to these new poems and listening to me talk about sonnets and the sonnet crown for a while. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your evening and maybe think about John Donne a little bit before you go to bed tonight. Bye.